Welcome back to Indie Housing Market. I'm Kyle.morris with FC Tucker and Morris Property Group.
I'm Shelly Walters with FC Tucker and the Shelly Walters Realty Group.
And we have a special guest this week.
Angie Daughetry with FC Tucker.
That's right. And so so last year we had Kyle Baker on, right? We wanted a first-year agent to come on and kind of tell us their experiences with it. She is a rising star this year, and so we want to
congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I was not one of those. Were you?
No, I was at another place.
Well, they still didn't have like.
No, I was literally, I was. So I was Rookie of the Year at the
Look at
brokerage
you.
here, and I was Rookie of the Southeast region of the brokerage.
Oh, wow.
You know what I was?
My first year.
Nothing. I was nothing.
And look at you now. You're like number one here.
Yeah.
So.
Well, but so like to me, part of it is like, and I think I talk to you guys when I come in and talk to new agents. It's like, you know, I feel very blessed that it was hard for me early on because I had to work a little bit differently. And so one of those things that we were talking about is like what your summer looked like versus what you anticipated it to be. When you don't even really have that full experience of what seasonality feels like, what different markets feel like, and it's really hard. And then you can start to beat yourself up, and then you start to wonder what you're doing wrong.
Exactly.
Then you get in a negative headspace. Then everything starts to cascade negatively when you're actually doing everything great. You're outperforming everybody. But that's one of the things like I try to focus on a lot within our industry is like, how do I stay out of that? Because like sometimes it just does that. You know, we were talking about it earlier. Like our May was really, really low as a team. Just really disproportionately low for like the past 7 years. Like this was one of our lowest May ever. But like we've also are having our record year right now. So, but like when I was looking in June or July, I was like, we'll see how it turns out. You know, I definitely didn't expect it to be another record year, but here we are. But it's hard when you don't have something to go off of.
Well, we said earlier, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And when I was started in 2008, like you said, starting out with nothing in front of me, I had no idea what was different. 2008 was really different, and to go into 2009, I was still Rookie of the Year. I didn't know anything different, but the people around me were complaining their phone wasn't ringing. What do I do? What do I do?
You're like, I'm just happy to be in the business. You know?
And I'm just like, my phone's ringing, and I just started because I didn't have an attitude. I didn't have an
entitlement.
I didn't have anything to think about other than I'm just going to call people and talk to people, and they quit. They got so discouraged, they quit. You could just tell it. And I was surprised. But what happened to me, and I was curious about with you, I was really trying to figure out what my goals were, what I expected of myself. Yeah. And my second or third month in the business, I saw how many houses sold in our Mybor area. That month, it was like 1,200. And I'm like, and I only sold 3? As a rookie, as a new person, I was upset with myself for selling 3 because I thought, well, I could have sold 100. I literally thought, out of 1,200, man, I've got a lot I could get.
And even then, it's 2,400 sides, right? Because there's a buy and a list to every
that's so
most
much out there. But I was so mad at myself, I didn't sell like 40 that month because I saw those numbers.
You know how many 40 is in a month?
Oh, yeah, no, I know.
Insane.
But nobody, because what they said to me was, Shelly, all you need to do is get your fair share. And that's always been in the back of my head. So for you, keep that. Just get your fair share. Do what you can do. Yeah. So what were, when you started, what were some goals for yourself? What did you think you could do or wanted to do?
1 a month.
Perfect.
That was literally my goal.
You're already there.
Yeah. And now I've got 4 pending. So, but yeah, 1 a month. And like I said, I came out of the gate January 1st and had a pending and was thrilled about that. Come out, the first of the year.
And you started
August 1st of 2023. Okay. And I did 5 units between August and December.
That's fabulous.
Yeah. And, small, but still, I was writing purchase orders and making offers and just, doing the job. But yeah, 1 a month. And then I had a really slow summer. I was busy January all the way to May, and June and July and August were crickets. And, I panicked and just thought, oh my gosh, what am I doing? But just hearing other agents, experienced agents were having the same downtime was, encouraging to me. And I just kept making my calls. I just kept, answering the phone. And so far this fourth quarter is
Not giving up is really important. So have you found that agents are helpful or on your side a little bit, or
they
are
have been.
not?
They have been, and that's one of the surprising things, because I thought this market was going to be very
That's sad
competitive.
that it's surprising, honestly. But.
Yeah, I thought it'd be very competitive and cutthroat, and so far I haven't experienced that. Everybody's been very kind, very helpful, and I think we all want to get the house sold,
Yeah.
So I think that has been my experience.
So
I'm
where'd you
dealing
come
with
up-
a first purchase offer again to me in my listing right now, and she said, I knew it. I could tell. I'm sorry, but the other thing was we all look at your MyBoard number. We know, but I didn't say
I don't.
anything.
I actually don't.
Well, I see it, and then I'm like, oh, that number, and it computes in my head just like in
if
30
I get
seconds.
attitude, then I go and look. That makes it. I don't care at all.
You have to write it down in our pendings and stuff. We have to actually write that number down.
Yeah, I guess I just don't.
So-
I mean, I do, but I just am not like blah blah blah.
Well, her conversation with me was kind of like that. She was doing something in Dot-Loop and asking questions and asking. She goes, I got to say something. This was like our third phone call. She goes, I've really been afraid to say this, but this is my very first deal. Yeah. I was so afraid to tell you because I didn't know what you would do. And I'm like, I'm going to help you. She goes, I was petrified to tell you that.
My very first deal, I messed up, and the other agent helped me, and I'll never forget it. And I try to do everything I can.
I talk about Michelle Shepard all the time. She's the one who helped me with my first deal. Yeah, absolutely. And I remember that.
Mm-hmm. I do too. And I
remember her name. I can't remember half the people I work with, but I can remember her name 16 years ago. Yeah. And she's still here, obviously. Yeah. But
So where'd you come up with 12? I'm just curious, because you know what the average is a year for average agents, I guess, right? Which is like
I really don't.
It's like 7.
Oh, 7? Okay. See,
so
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
So you weren't held back by the information.
Right.
Yeah,
no.
Isn't that so good that at class, and I know Raquel's been through the class too, that they don't sit there and tell you, now your average that you will going to sell in the first year is maybe 0, maybe 1 or 2. And you go into the business going, okay.
Let's do this.
I'll be average.
Well, it just speaks to mindset so much. Like, you know, when you come from a place of abundance, you do well. A lot of agents operate out of a scarcity mindset, which, it is what it is.
You have to be driven.
You have to be driven. You have to work with no results for a very long time. But
she had them right away.
Yeah, she did.
I did.
How are you getting the leads?
I did e-leads, where I pay on the back end after I close, OpCity, Realtor.com. I definitely signed up for that. And, I worked my sphere. I went to all my friends and said, I'm a real estate agent now.
They're
and
like, cool.
Yeah, right.
You
You and 7 other people.
Yeah.
You and my neighbor, my brother. Yeah.
But, I would definitely say now I'm starting to see those referrals from even my Realtor.com leads. I've helped, mothers of, I'm just starting to see that.
And open houses.
Yeah, and open houses. Yes, open houses.
Are you finding those good right now?
No, in the summer, no. I mean, July and August, they were terrible.
Yeah, they're still really hit or miss.
Yeah.
We've got a bunch that we're out with open houses, and there's some where we get 8 groups through, and there's some where I get crickets, and there's 0 groups through. And honestly, if you looked at the houses, you'd probably say it should be flip-flopped. And sometimes every single person that comes in has an agent. Sometimes nobody who comes in has an agent. It's really odd right now to kind of quantify open houses, I think. You just got to do them because you do them, right?
Have you found the best time to do them? I know you've done Saturdays, you've done evenings. What are your thoughts on evenings, Saturdays?
It really depends on the location. I really just kind of look at the individual house and see what I think would be a good fit for that neighborhood. And kind of, the Thursday evening, twilight, I've had really great success there. Yeah.
Saw her at one.
Yes, absolutely. And Sunday, I kind of look at the Colts schedule.
Yeah, that matters.
Isn't that the truth?
That
it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
They're watching football on Sunday.
You got it.
And I'm seeing a lot of Saturdays. That
Unless-
was not even a thing.
The way Sunday, though, if there's a Colts game, if they're a buyer and they're out, then they're a buyer.
Right.
That's the
a
difference.
good point.
You get a lot less kind of looky-loos and stuff like that.
So in questioning on how do you get those open houses, it's obviously not all your listings are what you're doing the open houses for. So I found this interesting as I've been in the business more, and it's really, to me, it's only happened because at Tucker, it's big, to ask other agents to do theirs. That was like mind-blowing to me in the past 4 or 5 years to see that happening. Oh, yeah. So obviously you do that. You just reach out to people that areas or...
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, through, emails, I'm just, Johnny on the spot. I mean, I'm right there looking at emails, looking at the opportunities.
What day do you do?
I have, Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay.
Definitely, because I get my signs out Friday or Thursday.
Yeah.
Every weekend?
I try to.
That's good.
I really do.
They're warm bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if they're not
Absolutely.
looking, they know somebody that is or selling.
Yeah.
They
Well, to me,
will.
it was just about clocking in. I did them every
Yeah.
weekend for, I don't know, a year, 18 months, something like that. 2 in a day, which I'm not a big fan of 2
I
in a day.
did 2 in a day as well. If
I
I'm
just-
out, I'm doing it.
Yeah, well, for me, it was, I felt there's diminishing returns for me personally because, like, I ended up being tired, if that makes sense, and, like, disengaged. So I didn't feel like I was putting my best self out there, so I quit doing the doubles. But I mean, I did them forever. Like, my team mainly does them now, but it's one of the days kind of I took back unless I'm doing it to, like, to help a client, I want to do some customer care, customer service. But Carrie Schuster was just so big for me early on because I did an open house or 2 of her. I gave her awesome detailed feedback immediately. She really liked that. I emailed it to her. She could forward it on to her clients. They liked it. And so it became a thing where, because I created that relationship, like on Monday or Tuesday, she was just saying, like, hey, I got these. Do you want any of them?
I was
And
going to
that
ask
made
you
my
that.
life
I'm sure
so
you
much
have agents
easier.
that you're their girl.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
That's
like,
what I was
when
gonna
people
say.
call us, I'm like, we have a team, our team members will do it. But, if you were connected with me and you were really good, I'm sorry, Angie's going to do it,
Yeah.
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 It's easier
that-
because they know
Yeah.
how it's gone.
I know the
have
quality
had-
that's going to be put out there. And
I've
that
just had
matters.
random
Yeah.
people do it, and I say yes, and not a good experience.
Right.
Just random. So, just proving yourself.
Yeah, proving myself, putting my best foot forward every time. And like you said, I mean, I didn't say no. I still am not saying no, really. But
So
I
if
don't say
anybody's
no.
out there needs
That's
a
right.
person
That's
to
right.
do them, Angie's available.
I'm your girl.
Well, and I listen to you, so that's one of the things I have always done is training open houses, is because I love to do. Hate to say it, I like to go to open houses, and it's normally when I'm traveling, just for fun or to see the area, and just see what the agent does,
Yeah.
and to literally see them say hi. I walk through the house and leave, and they didn't say one word to me. I'm like, why are you here? Like, literally, you know what you're there for. There's a couple of reasons. Try to sell it for them, but also to make sure you know who the people are and to give that feedback. And it's like pulling teeth to get feedback. So what you're saying is really good.
I go to, I'll give the agent feedback if I need to. I try to give feedback about the house for sure. But I'm like really particular about how I list houses and stuff. So I know not everybody has to do what I do, but I'm like, hey, this is noticeable, which then creates this to become noticeable, which is this and this and this and this.
Did we
especially
talk-
for like newer agents.
I don't know if you've seen this, but did we talk about what's going around right now, the lawsuits from buyers for giving feedback?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You sent me that email. Yeah.
That was interesting.
That was a one-off. I'm very curious about that.
I would be
because,
curious, too.
So there was this lawsuit. I don't want to get too in the weeds on it. So basically, an agent gave feedback after they showed a house. And this was not here. This was
it was
in
not
another
here.
state. It was like, hey, clients like the house. They're considering it, but they have other ones to look at.
And they
right?
didn't like this and this about the house. So they made
Right.
negative comments.
Yep. But
And
then
then-
they circled back later and they wrote an offer, and
Wasn't the seller mad or something?
the negotiation was toxic because of that feedback. And then so the buyers didn't get as good of a deal as they thought they could because they ended up finding out about this from, I believe, the sellers or the sellers.
Probably
they
at closing
did
table,
similar.
maybe. Yeah, you find it all there.
And so they felt like they didn't get as good of a deal because of the feedback that was given, because it created animosity, and then sued their agent because they didn't okay the feedback to be given to the seller.
It's very interesting. We really need to start asking maybe our legal counsel on that, because it does open a good conversation. But
I guess I always leave it vague. And
I
I
do
never
too.
beat up a house. I'm like, hey, smelled like a cat, or like whatever it may be. Like, I'm never gonna eviscerate a house.
I've told
I
people
think
they
it's
have a gas leak and they get
Yeah.
mad at me. Like, how do you know? I'm like, because I can smell it.
What's
and
it
they get mad
produce?
at me for saying that. And I go straight to the agent, tell them that I know they have an infant in the house. There is a gas leak. I know exactly where it is. I take a picture of it. This recently, I've done it many times, but recently that person was so mad at me for being a know-it-all, and I'm like,
Well, but so like, have you ever had a
So
house
it's not
that
worth
you
it
listed
sometimes.
and you're like, like you're like, we're gonna get beat up on this, and then like somebody just sends you this feedback, and they're like, yeah, this is crap, and you're like, yeah, I know. you know what I mean? Like I just think agents know, so I try to put something productive
price
in
is
there.
Good, and you're like, no, don't say that because we're not selling and we really need a price drop. But that's so feedback. Sorry, tangent. But back in the day, and just as you as an agent starting up, good habits to start those good habits. Back in the day, you just did feedback.
Yeah.
Today, it's like pulling teeth. I would say 20%. Yep, 20% give it.
Yeah.
And
I do it on every house. Man.
My opinion is you ask that seller to open your home for them, to leave, take the dogs, take the kids, and you don't have one thing to say to them is not nice.
Yeah, I guess for me, like I usually do my feedback on the house. I don't generally give the client's feedback. I'll be like, hey, just not the one.
It is always mine.
Yeah, it's my feedback as a professional on the house.
Always
and mine. I guess I never show our cards like that. But I will say, gonna keep looking, or you know what I mean. Like I kind of say that we're moving on from it, and then I give like my professional feedback. I've never been like they didn't like the color of the kitchen type stuff. I'll be like, I don't know. I don't. This is a hard example to give.
So it sets down to habits. Have you set any type of things that you do on a daily basis or anything? Do you have a routine?
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. I come from a financial background. I mean,
Oh, no.
everything
There's that brain.
Oh, yeah, there's that brain. And I do. I've got, Mondays I attend XYZ meetings. Tuesday I make my calls. Wednesday, I live and die by it.
So I know you do because I see you in the office. Attending meetings, attending classes, attending webinars is huge.
Yes, my knowledge is the biggest
Cry
asset that I have.
Cry every day in the corner.
I in 2008 when I wasn't selling, I was attending everything I possibly could and learning. And as I said, the older agents were sitting in the corner going, "What's going on?" Yeah. But in today's world, like just this year, there's been so much training on the BCA, and everybody needs to be going at it. And if you're not keeping up in today's market with these classes, I don't know how you can be in business.
Yeah, you're gonna struggle.
Yeah,
you're gonna struggle. But once you know it, you know it. That's the weird part. It's also not rocket science, but you got to know what you're doing, right? I don't know. I did a ton of training. I'm glad you're doing a ton of training. I know that you have kind of like a small group that you talk to and everything. I'm a big proponent of that. I don't know. Like I talk to experienced agents. Like I can remember like going to sit down and just like walking in Carrie's door or Diane Brooks's door, or like I walked into Biff Ward's door and I'm like, just teach me. I want to be successful, and I see you doing that stuff. And my experience is most successful agents want to help, and they want to teach, and they want to raise the success rate in our industry. I mean, it's why we kind of do this in the first place. Right. You know what I mean?
Well, you need to be a sponge, and I don't think you need to stop being a sponge at all.
Yeah,
because there's a lot out there. There's too much to know, and that's hard. Where you're staying in with that 12 a month, at least staying in the process of the process, because the process is a whole nother learning curve. You cannot learn in a webinar or a class. You have to physically do it.
Right.
And the people that do one or two have a little bit harder time to like going through the motions and remembering, it's muscle memory almost to some parts, but there's some legalities that change on a dime, it seems.
Yeah, and just gain that confidence, And
absolutely. Because you have to go talk to people.
You got to talk to people. You
fake it till you make it.
Yeah, you got to negotiate. You got to, Yeah.
Well, you said you have a background, so you didn't,
I do.
So you have a background business, and so you're,
yeah,
you're coming from something that you had to be very strong at anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what do you think your goal is for next year? Or like what
2 a
question?
month.
2 a month?
2 a month.
That's good.
Yeah.
24.
Yeah.
But your August is your new month or your new year. So are you looking at the fiscal year, like January to this? Are you going to start over January 1st now? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This was my first fiscal year, so
Yeah,
So
January
2 a month.
That's
2 a
good.
month.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
You got it. Keep climbing.
That's right.
That's my goal.
What is it after that?
Yeah, 3 a month, I guess. I don't know, but I'm just going to be successful.
Do you think
at
you
this
can
business.
do 50 a year?
I think so.
Good.
I really do.
Alone?
I really do. Yes.
Alone?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So 50 times. Let's just do that. There was a breaking time, and you're probably not there yet. But the conversation of, do I need an admin or do I need a team? Which is first? Yeah. That's a whole thing that was hard to understand. And admin's always first, right?
I don't have an admin.
Well, no, you don't. I don't know why.
I should
but
have 3
I was always
admins
told
and I don't
admin
have
was always first to keep you going, to get maybe to 15 million. And about 15 million, in my opinion, I don't know.
Tap out.
Some people do.
I'm the wrong guy. I'm the wrong guy for this conversation.
So that's a whole thing.
But what
for
I
you.
see is that, you know, I mean, I am just like a really poor example of this because I did everything opposite. You know, I mean, I started a team when I had sold 3 million, you know.
You were helping people too.
I've had transaction coordinators. I've had stuff. And like my team is just, they're all tenured. They're good. I don't need all that stuff because they're just psychos like me and they're on top of everything. But I do need help. I'll tell you that. But good help is hard to find. That's what I have found more than anything. I've had good help, but then I tend to be the problem because I need trained to be able to disseminate information. Like it's just more complex than you think. But you start getting up in that 40 a year, and it's a lot, you know. I mean, we do about 100 a year, and that's amongst 4 of us. And obviously, like some do more, some do less. And I mean, I think you've seen me around. You know what my work-life balance is like. So the admin does help with that, but like at the end of the day, like you're still going to be selling a lot of homes, and so it's a lot. It's just an absolute lot. And what you're going to find, in my opinion, is it will always be out there if you want it. At what point is it enough for you? That actually is where the conversation really begins to change when you get like around 24, 30. Okay, it's like, okay, so like I can do this. I'm doing very well, but what do I want out of life also? And like that actually becomes the hard part because our industry will preach growth to you nonstop. And like, that's easy when you're like selling 3 million, 5 million, 8 million, but like you start getting up there and it's like, to what end? You know?
Work-life balance.
Work-life balance, yeah. So like I fight it a little bit, quite honestly. I mean, I'm pretty open about talking about it. And so to her point, it's gonna be like, what do you do? Like there's virtual TCs that are transaction coordinators that you can get, you know, where you just pay them that are very, very good. We've looked at doing that. Do you need admin? Do you need social media content? Or for me, like, my team runs really well. Like, I probably just need a personal assistant, quite honestly, right? And so, like, those things you really, my experience was go talk to people who are 5 to 8 million above where you want to be at and go find out what they did and their bumps and bruises, and they will 100% talk to you. I promise you they will. I mean, I talked to, like, Rodney Hurd, like, all these people, and they helped pave the way for me to, like, figure out a little bit ahead of time. Yeah. So just make sure you're doing that, because I always tell people when they're in this business and they want to sell a bunch, and I'm like, be careful what you wish for, because like a bunch comes with selling a bunch. Yeah. It just does. Like, you know, it can be a lot. So,
well, I had little kids at home too when I was doing it, and well, my youngest was 13 when I started, and that was when I decided to go and do this job. But even 13 to 23, one was out of the house, was still difficult with the family and you know, being gone at nights, being gone every weekend, and just doing that because I was so competitive against myself and just wanted more and more and more just to show that I could. Yeah. And I wasn't very good at that. Yeah,
it's hard.
Yeah.
And it's there for you. That's the crazy thing. And if the way you're driven.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying
like
that, because you're driven
sweet.
like me. Yeah.
You're going to be like, let's do more, let's do more.
So I'm just asking, you said 24, then, you know, get to the point where that's 24.
Yeah.
That's actually, so I work so much, that's why I quit doing the open houses, because that's the day I took back, if that makes sense. Because my family will be home and stuff like that. Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody ever told you this too, because this is what I learned, and this gave me a mind space that I had not had, was when somebody calls me and says they want to see a house or I want a listing appointment with you, I would go, okay, they're going to say no. If they ask for 1 o'clock on Tuesday, if I say no, I'm out. And the first person that I talked to about that said, no, you have an appointment. And I'm like, but I don't. And they're like, yeah, you do. You just say you have an appointment, and everybody will appreciate the fact that you're working and you're busy. And my appointment could be to walk my dog because he does it every day at 1 o'clock. But whatever it is, you don't need to say what, just an appointment. Can you do 3? I can't do 1. Correct. They all said yes. Yeah. I was shocked.
Yeah.
But there's that fear of, like, if I say no.
Exactly.
That people be like, fine, we don't want you anymore.
Yeah, I'll lose
you just said no to me, really? I told you I want to work with you, and you said no? But
I mean, but there's some, like, Eric Forney, he does a ton. And he's like, you know, we don't do offers on the weekends and all this other stuff. Like, I don't know all the stuff of it. It's like, it's ninja selling, right? So there's a whole training about ninja, and, like, you don't take phone calls after 5 and blah, blah, blah. And I mean, he's one of the top in our local area, in my opinion. And he has all those boundaries, and he
Boundaries. Good
It
word.
hasn't hurt
Yeah,
him
boundaries.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
I envy that to a certain extent,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So
I try and take one day during the week, whether it's Wednesday afternoon, and just sit with myself. And I mean, I think I'm
Get your hair done. Get your nails done,
exactly,
something.
self-care.
Yeah,
do what I
that's
need to
good,
do. But because I do. I mean, weekends is part of my. I just am in that mindset. I have to work the
You're working.
weekends.
Yeah.
So if Wednesday's my day off,
I
then
did
Wednesday's
for
my day off.
I think every new agent
Yeah.
has to.
Yeah.
I think you really do.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing too is we're coming into, like you're saying, that your summer was slow.
Yeah.
You've not really seen the seasonal. No. You've not really seen anything but know what you've seen for the past, since last August. And this is just a different market. It used to be seasonal, but I think what we're showing is that we're going back into is it's starting to do the slowdown. And we have our stats here, but Indiana's stats show that, the past 23 and 24 showing to be like 23 is December and January are the lowest in sales.
Yep.
Always have been. So remember that when you're saying, oh, it's kind of quiet.
What am I doing wrong?
Because it wasn't like that, but you weren't here. But 21 and 22, there was no season. 23 started, but it was nonstop every day, every month. But it's going to get into that. And one of the things that I was told that was really interesting to me was in October or something, they had a class and they said, just know that most of the seasoned agents or the agents that are been around or older or whatever will quit in November, December, and January. They'll go to Florida, they'll do whatever. And I'm like, what? And they're like, that's when you ramp up. Because you ramp up to go against everybody who left, so that in January and February, like you did, you're strong and way up here, and they're just coming back to ramp up. You're way ahead of them. And I did that, and I've never stopped. Never stopped.
What else are you going to do? I guess that's what I think.
Well, your work, it's your job, right?
That's what I do.
I mean, it's what you do.
I also don't know like what we're going through right now, how much is tied to the election. Obviously, we have a very kind of volatile, intense election this year, and I just feel like there's gaslighting and fear mongering, and it is what it is. But like, I mean, it's palpable. I mean, we can all say that, and there's unsurety as a result. And I have buyers right now, but everybody is being very patient, and I don't know if that's because days on market. I don't know if that's because of the election and people want to see what happens we're like 2.5 weeks out or something like that at this point. I can't quantify it. I don't have enough data till we're almost through it to really kind of say what's happening right now. Because we're like, are we going back into seasons or not? Like, it feels like it.
Yeah, it does feel.
But I've also got this major freaking thing here.
It's
in like
always
2.5 weeks.
November is the election time period. What we're
Yeah.
dealing with, the major election. I think it always slows down about the end of September.
It does.
And goes into a halt to see where we're going to be living, November, middle of November. But other than that, so you missed 21 and 22. I'm going to ask you this question. You might think it's a weird question, but when you're showing buyers, how many houses are you showing when you go out to show houses?
10, 15.
At a time?
Yeah.
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 And that's been a long time
Yeah.
since we've done that.
Yeah. We knock them out on a Saturday, and it's.
Yeah. Do they remember 10 or 15 what their houses were? Do you make notes? How are you doing that? Because I was actually told that past 7-ish is the brain stops. They don't know what they've seen. And so there's a fine line there. So
I'll do 8. That's what I do.
I do 8.
Okay.
That's as far as I'll
Okay.
go. Because
Okay.
if they give me 10 or 15, I go into each one. I look at every picture. I do every Google Earth. I read the agent remarks, and I can always get rid of
get rid of some of
most of them
Okay.
that are beyond that my age.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to show them what's a little bit off and what they're looking at, because one, they'll say you're not listening to me, even though they chose it and told you. But that's one thing I might say is I was told, and you said that too, 8 is like.
I've done 15 though. I did
when
it
they're
a
in
long
from
time
out of
ago.
town, yeah.
I've done it. Here's the problem you have with it. People become overstimulated.
Yeah, they
And
stop.
so
their
they
brain
just get
stops.
tired. They just get tired.
It's just so much for
So
them.
when I show that many, even if I show 8, like I have the folder, I have all the BLCs in there, right? All of the listing sheets, and we keep our top 3. If it doesn't make the top 3 goes into the left hand side. And if it doesn't make the top 3, I literally throw it away at the house.
Well, the other thing too is I make them do a ranking.
Yeah.
At the end of this, what did you like, not like about it? I'm making notes on my paper, and from 1 to 10, where is this one?
Follow.
And I have
That's
found
good.
that's really helpful, because when we're done with the 8th one, many of the first-time home buyers love the game. And they pull it out and they're like, oh, there's one. No, oh, I do remember. I didn't remember the
I
house,
liked
but
that
we had a
kitchen.
1.
Yeah.
Oh, we must not have liked it. And they'll get to their top 3 just by that paperwork,
Yeah.
but they won't remember the house.
I like that strategy.
It's a
I
good
like
one.
It. Yeah,
It's
that's
a
a good
good one.
one.
How long
Yeah.
does 15 houses take you?
Oh, 10 o'clock until 5. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a full Saturday.
Now, those are horrible to make appointments
Yeah.
for. Because you have to
Uh-oh.
decide when the next one comes, and by the 15th one,
Oh.
when are we really going to get there?
Right? Because it's like,
Absolutely.
what if we gotta get gas? What if we gotta
Yep.
eat?
Or they didn't like 3 and you quit.
Yep.
Or didn't you?
Or you get out of one quickly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or one
Oh,
goes
it's-
long.
oh, yeah.
And then you got to call and change and cancel.
It
Do,
staggers all of
that's
them.
just, it's stressful
It
to show
is
that
stressful.
many.
That's why you
It's
gotta like
stressful.
throw in some like go-in shows. Like so that's like where like it's basically a vacant property. You can just come at any time. Just make sure you're registered for. Not
Yeah,
at any time. I
Write
don't wanna
that on
say
that paper, a big yellow highlighter.
Okay,
Go
I can't say
show.
come at any time because that's not allowed. But I mean, like, I'll book it for an hour. If I'm 15, 20 minutes late, it's not a big deal. If I leave 20 minutes early from it, it's not a big deal, right? Because it's vacant, right? But if somebody lives there, I don't want to be discourteous to the homeowner. whose
But
house
what
is
you're saying is,
opening
and
it up
see
for
what
us.
your thoughts are on this. I tell my sellers they made an appointment at 2. It's an hour. They can come anytime between 2 and 3. It does not mean they're going to get there at 3.
No, I do that. Yeah,
Okay.
I 100%
What
do
I
that.
thought you were saying is
But I
I
try-
want to be there at 2.
But I'm a psycho. I try to stay on schedule.
Well, I want to stay on schedule, but I have had
Because it
sellers.
compounds rather quickly on a 15-house day.
It
Oh my God,
5
It
minutes
does.
turns into 10 on the second
Gives
one.
me
It's like
anxiety
an
to think
hour
about
by
it.
the 8th
But there are
house.
sellers that will sit on the street and stare at the house or watch their Ring doorbell and call you. They're not there. It's 2:10. I'm like, I
They got
told
the
you.
whole hour.
They have a whole hour, and 2:55 counts.
Yeah.
So they may not be out by 3. You can go to the house if you want, but yeah, start looking a little bit at what your buyers are asking to see. If
Yeah,
they're all
that's-
perfect,
yeah.
then go. But in this market, you can't wait. Still, if it's the best house out there. Well, I have first-time buyers right now. We are on the onesies. Hit the market, maybe
They're
2
gone,
hit the market.
yeah.
You know. And they do know now because they've missed even seeing houses because I was like, we have to see them immediately. And I think that mindset's a little gone right now, but
Yeah.
it's not. Those really good houses are still selling in a couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in West Virginia dying in the rapids, I had a client go look at one, and I was telling you guys, like, it sold significantly over list in a day. So probably $20,000 to $30,000 over list. Meanwhile, we have stuff, like we'll do stats, stuff sitting on market or whatever.
But
And
it
it's
never
really
fails.
hard to tell you which one is which. Like, I have a good idea, but I have outliers where I'm like, this is going to take 3 weeks, and it's gone in 2 days.
In this market we're in, I could tell
I have
you
some that are going to go real quick.
it's going in a day. I mean, I've seen them all. I've
Yeah.
seen them all in this price point. And when the good one hits, I'm like, okay, we got to see that one. But that is something that can backfire on you because it can be on the market for 35 days.
Yeah.
And you get there and you look at it and the agent says, oh, we have an offer. We have to, respond in 2 hours. And you're like, so I still call every agent and
do
say,
too.
do you have offers? Do you do that?
Well,
Yes.
Yeah.
I do if it's a
It-
house I know we're going to want. How's that?
I just, again, if I'm going to show 15 and they, not every agent lets you know when you made that showing appointment, oh, by the way, we have an offer, it's due by 5 and you're showing it at 3. Not every agent will tell you anything. And then you get out and they like it and they go, oh, I'm sorry, we signed it. I didn't even know you had one.
Right.
So that's been difficult to keep up with agents that don't do that. So I call everybody still today.
I
I
don't
probably
know,
will
it's-
in the rest of my life now. I think
It's just weird out there, because, you got stuff. The weird stuff I have is where I have houses sitting on the market 35 days. I don't know if you've run into this yet. And then you go write an offer, and then they get another offer.
that happens. I
happens.
saw
And then
that.
my
yeah.
buyers want to be like, they're lying. I'm like, they ain't lying. Like, nobody's going to lose their license and their livelihood over lying about a non-existent. Well, I take that back. Maybe people will. I choose to believe most people aren't going to lose their livelihood over lying about an offer that doesn't
But I
exist.
explained that to my buyers, which is kind of where I was going. If it's been on the market for 30 or 35 days and they like it, the other 3 buyers that have said, let me know, they all 3 get told, by the way, we just got an offer, and then the other 3 go, okay, here's ours. And now you have 4 offers on a house that's been sitting for 35 days. And it is hard for a buyer to think you as an agent are not lying to them to make a higher offer or whatever. So I have that conversation right up front when I first meet them.
So you've dealt with it already? That kind of a scenario where it's been sitting and then you get an...
Yeah. Like before we saw it or whatever. I mean, book the showing, they call and say, well, we've got an offer.
You're like, you've been on the market 90 days, what do you mean,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you like feel like you're pushing them and you're like, man, I'm just being honest here.
Well, you also have to watch the price drops because once they hit the price drop, it's 50 days on market, but they finally got where they need to be.
Yep.
Or you go from 355 to 350, a whole new buyer group is now seeing this house. So there's all those kind of intricacies you have to know that is going to be a potential multiple offer situation.
There's a lot to this business. I mean,
why'd you get
really
into it?
Is.
If you don't mind me asking.
The flexibility of it. I did.
That
I
doesn't
did.
work.
I know.
Same here, girl.
Yeah, makes no sense.
Yeah. I don't know where I came up with that. It's flexible.
And why do people say that? I mean, that's so just. I asked
know.
Raquel when Raquel went to her class. She was sitting there. I said, "Please ask the question. Ask the teacher to ask the question why." And it's good money, and flexibility was one of them. And I don't remember what the third one was.
It was I like to look at houses.
Yes, that's it.
Wait till you've looked at 10,000 of them.
But
so like
flexibility. Did
so
you
you
find
don't get-
out you have it?
You know, I do. I feel I do. I am single, so I mean, my weekend, unless I'm traveling, I have the weekends available. I have the evenings available. So I do like that aspect of making my own schedule. Like I said, I can take Wednesday afternoon off, Thursday morning, just...
Until that house hits the market.
Here's the thing. So you're talking about flexibility to work, but the more you work, it becomes flexibility to live.
Yeah.
And that's the piece that gets left out, right? And so like the more you sell, so like the good money comes, but with lack of flexibility, right? Like that's what's so weird about it. And I don't know why there's this perception, because I thought the same thing. It's like, it'll be flexible. I can go to meetings, all this other stuff. And I'm like, man, I work 80 hours a week. Like what happened here? So I don't know, but I thought the same thing. And I don't remember anybody ever telling, that was my perception for some reason.
Mine too.
But the more you do, is like when you get to that, when you're trying to hit that 24 number, like I always tell people, I have flexibility except for when I have 0, right? Because like if I have to go look at a house, if I have a listing, like I don't have any, because like, I can maybe say like, hey, I can't do it today, we'll do it tomorrow, unless it's a house that's going to go right away, right? So
That's when your flexibility is out the window.
But also, like, I can't put somebody off for, like, 3 days either. So, like, I have, like, some flexibility-ish, I guess.
Maybe from 1 to 3, like I said. Yeah. What was another one?
Well, as I'm getting older, and I felt like it's a career that I can have well into my later in life. I mean, honestly, And I've always worked for other people.
No, you don't.
I've always been a W-2 employee.
So do you like being your own boss?
I do.
Yeah.
I really do. I really do.
Are you a good boss?
I think so. I really do.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm excited where the path is going to. I know I'm going to be successful at this business. I just
Yeah, your
know
mindset's really good. I think
I think that's half the battle.
or more.
You're like me.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm gonna die showing houses. Like you're gonna carry me out of somebody's house. They're gonna be like, anybody ever die at this house? Be like, yeah, a buyer's agent 5 years ago. It was me.
Well, the funny thing, I had to have hip surgery, not a whole thing, but just a minor surgery, but I still have problems walking. It's been almost a year. It still hurts. And I was like, I have disability. I can't go up and down stairs very well. So I'm at some point going to go, if this hip stops me from going up and down stairs, there's my disability. Because you have to go upstairs, turn the lights on, come down. They don't turn them off. You go back up, and then you got to do the basement. And like, this is killing me. So you're talking about working later. I'm like, I don't know if my body's.
Raquel and Jeff.
I know. I don't know if my body's going to let me work for a long time because there is some things we have to do.
Yeah.
But
now, my mother is 97, so I have longevity in my family. So I think I will. Yeah.
And that's what people ask about the retirement age. So So when do you in real estate? I don't think everybody just goes and goes and goes. Yeah.
Our industry needs to do better about teaching financial literacy to agents, in my opinion.
when I
personal
teach
thing that
classes,
I teach my guys and stuff.
but when I teach, and I know you teach, is one of the things I talk about, and you, since you have a background in finance, you probably did.
She probably does. She should be teaching.
Yeah,
people.
she should be teaching.
She should be teaching us.
This is a business. It
Yeah.
is not a what's the word? Not a
It's not a hobby.
Hobby.
hobby. That's
Hobby
what I'm
is-
looking for.
yeah.
But some people do not look at it as a business, and they're willy-nilly with their money and everything else.
Go
but
buy
you,
the Range Rover.
right, you just have to really. But you are probably very good at it.
I'm very good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could probably
Yeah.
teach a class.
Yeah.
We'd have to tell Angel.
Taxes and
Yeah,
all
yeah.
that. Yeah.
How do I hide my money? That's the class I need you to teach me. How do I do
Can't
that?
do it.
How do I pay less in taxes?
Well, the other thing.
I'm
too,
kidding, IRS.
The first thing I started with my money when I just started maybe 6 years ago was having somebody do my P&L statement every year,
Yep.
every month.
Every month.
Yep, I have a bookkeeper and I have an accountant. Yep.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I have a financial
That was
advisor.
a huge release for me because when it came down to taxes, what I realized was, and I'm just saying this as new agents to look at it as a business, what I realized was I didn't know my numbers when I had to hand it over to the person doing my taxes. So I was handing paperwork, and they charged me so much to figure out what the weeds were that I could have had somebody doing the P&L for even less money and just hand it to them. So I recommend the P&L. I recommend any other recommendations as the finance person for a new agent.
Profit and loss for anybody
Yeah,
who
I
doesn't
mean,
know what
just
that means.
know what your expenses are. I mean, I print my credit card statement every month and
You
go
use
through
one
them and
credit card?
yeah, one credit card and
yep,
highlight
absolutely.
everything, my
Points?
dues, my gas, yeah,
Do you
points
card?
yeah.
Get the
But
points
I
card
know
for
what
your
my
business.
mileage is. I know, my dues. I look at my yearly dues and then know what that is monthly. And you got to stay on top of it. You really do.
Yeah,
You
it's-
just have to stay on top of everything or you won't succeed.
I tell people I clock out from being an agent during the day to clock in as a CEO at night. Like this is 24/7, all consuming for me.
Yeah.
Like I mean I have too much responsibility, quite honestly, to look at it any other way. I have to worry about my guys and what we're going to be doing and where marketing and money and all this other stuff.
And your buyers and sellers, you got.
Well,
their
that's all during
their
the day,
lives, I mean,
right?
but that's
Right.
their lives are, their whole livelihood
Yeah.
could be what you do or don't do. And I think people have a hard time understanding that you really are working for somebody else in regards to finding a home, selling the home,
Yeah.
all of that. And you needed to be top notch at that because then what if it doesn't get done
Right.
Yeah.
through
Right.
you?
Yeah.
What happens to them? And that's talking about people think it's a hobby. It's not. There's a lot more involved in it.
I don't know. I think you're going to do great. I mean,
Yeah.
first of all, you already are doing great. I mean, you did better than I did my first year, significantly. So,
Anything else that you want to
Yeah.
talk about that you've just really come across this past year that you were shocked about? Like, what in the world? I never expected this, or good or bad?
I mean, just the amount of knowledge that, is available to you and, you just have to take ownership for and just be as knowledgeable as you can with the market, with ethics, I mean, with everything, writing the forms. I mean, there's a lot to this business. Like you said, it's not rocket science, but there is a lot to each and every transaction.
You have
You
to
got to
like-
stay on top of it.
you have to like to learn.
You
to
do.
be in this
You
job.
really do.
Do you have a resource that you really, really like that you found is very helpful to you? One or two?
I just come
Whatever's
to the
in
office.
front of you?
Yeah, whatever's in front of me. Like I said, the knowledge that FC Tucker,
Yeah.
has
They're very good at
available, and just being around you seasoned agents is huge.
So we were talking about
Huge.
marketing capital, and
Yeah.
you've never heard of that.
No.
So marketing capital is one thing that we really have available to us. It's an awesome content of information, and I've got the stats that was just sent out today. Everybody, it went out in your emails.
Indiana Association of Realtors. If you're an agent, look it
Yeah.
up. It's good. It's got the whole
Marketing
state stats.
Capital, which is the cross streets of where the Realtor building is downtown
I think
Indianapolis.
it's Capital and Market.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
That would be the email subject head. But you didn't know about that
I
one.
did not
so
know about it.
continuing to
Yeah.
learn every day.
Every
getting
day.
a tidbit out of it. That's all you
Every
need to
day,
get. Yep.
Every day, and every transaction is different.
Yeah. That's the
you
first
know,
thing I
yeah.
tell my new TCs. If I have a new TC, is like, the next one, they'll say, well, we didn't do that, or this is different. I'm like, everyone's going to be different. There will never be a duplicate.
Never.
Everything is always different. Okay, so let's talk about different. Let's talk about the stats real quick. not really different. I don't know. So I don't know if that wasn't the best segue, but it's just really odd. It just
I
really
think you've been
is.
saying
I
that
don't.
for like 6 weeks in a
It
row.
is.
7,
So
8.
maybe it's not odd, and it's just a
Not
trend.
anymore.
I mean, you sell quickly or you don't. Like, that's just the way it is. And what makes you sell quickly, I can give you about an 80% window on what that is, but like there's also 20% that's like hard to account for. In Fishers, I had 24 go on the market, only 7 pended, so 17 are still active, but like 29 pended last week.
So it sucked up the inventory.
So I have negative inventory, but I have 208 on the market, which is like highest inventory I've had in a while over there, right? So
24 in the market is low. To hit the market, that's
a low.
Yeah.
That's low.
They're
That's
starting
low.
to slow down.
It is definitely starting to slow. Average days on market is 50. Median is 23. But the house the house that I was dealing with while I was on vacation, that was in Fishers, and it was gone in like 12 hours, 24 hours, something like that. And I mean significantly over list. So you gotta be out there. You gotta be active still. You generally have time. I think you generally have a couple days to go look at a house. We'll call it 3 or 4, but that's dependent on your agent calling the other agent for activity, quite honestly, and them answering the phone, right?
Yeah.
But
We won't go there. That's okay.
in Noblesville, I had 28 go on the market, so a little bit more. 22 are still active, so only 6 pended there. Excuse me. 21 actually pended, so I actually picked up some inventory. We're at 183 on the market. Average days on market is 26. It's actually their average is better there, and the median is 12. So it's still pretty quick. I think people are like really confused by this market in the sense, like 60 days is still fast for the record. Now I get it. That's average, right?
Yeah.
So you got 90 and 120, and you got 7 in there. But when I came into the business, 90 to 6 months was the norm. Actually, it just was. So.
And I saw up to a year as
Yeah.
average. 6 months to a year was normal. And we were talking about that building in price drops immediately on the listing contract. Just having to talk to your sellers a lot about why they're not selling. Even though we had that conversation up front, what would probably be in front of us. But
So
they
think
don't
about
remember.
that though. So prices are dropping a little bit, right? And we had this kind of like conversation beforehand. It's like, so prices are dropping. Why are they dropping? Things are sitting on the market longer, okay? When things are sitting on the market, because buyers had no leverage for a very, very long time, they are pushing back against the sellers. And they're like, okay, maybe I can get a little bit less, right? And so then prices start to drop. Sellers panic because they're not used to the average days on market either.
Because
so they
they're
drop
still
price too
hearing their
early.
neighbor sold the house in
Right.
3 days.
Oh,
and that was 6 months ago, but they don't listen to that part of it.
We got a listing that we're going to do, and I was having a talk with somebody, and they were like, there was a house around the corner, and it sold in 7 days, and like we're looking at all the data, and there's like nothing that represents anything similar to that. Right? But like that's still,
I do look it up, and I can't find it half the
yeah,
time.
it's not a thing, right? But so sellers are dropping price because they don't know. You used to be able to just list your house, and you're like, hey, we're going to list our house, we're going to go move, blah, blah, blah. Well, like, if you're going to list your house and sell it, like, you need to know 6 months in advance these days. Like, you just do, right? Because you don't know how long you're going to sit. And that's how it used to be, right? You're like, hey, we're going to move next year, right? All of a sudden, it became like, we're going to move in the spring. Like, it got cut in half, and so people aren't planning as well. And then so prices are dropping. But as long as you didn't buy a house in the past year and a half, it's still positive.
No, of course.
Yeah, that's what is so frustrating about it. Like, I get it. Yeah, prices have come down a little bit. I do think prices are going to go up in the spring. That's just my personal opinion. We'll see if the data supports it. That's just me being a prognosticator, so to speak. But
So,
I don't
Kyle's
know,
word
man.
of the week.
I just think it's some misinformation, and I think it's buyers taking advantage of the market, which they should, because they didn't get to for a very, very long time. But I also think the sellers are fine.
Yeah, well, list to sale ratios are going down, so
Yeah.
that's showing here, but not in Carmel.
Right.
They went up this past 7 days. So again, we were talking about like when doing this podcast, we're on every 7 days. We're looking at what happened the past week. It's changing so quickly. So Carmel's interesting. They had 29 hit the market, which is kind of lower than whatever
It's also
we've
fall
been
break.
seeing. Yeah, that's true.
It's fall break the
That's
past
true.
2 weeks.
And we always have to remember all that.
Yep.
The schools make a big difference of what the heck happens in our inventory. But only 8 pended, but a total of 29 pended, so 0 inventory if you look at the pendings. Average days on market were 30, median was 23, so we're coming very close to each other, being about a month in the pendings. That would be the past 7 days. Sold 109 in the past 30 days. Average was 100% list to sale ratio of all those 109.
But the world's collapsing, I thought.
And then on the past 30 days, the average days on market was 23, median was 10. So the last 7 days is showing a slowdown. Westfield 45 hit the market again. New builds. Are you seeing? Do you recognize that in Westfield?
I learned that from your podcast. I did.
Yay! So pendings out of those 45, 7, a total of 31, so very close to sucking up all of those. Average days on market were 51, median was 41. Westfield's always higher because I'm not taking out the new builds. But the interesting on the 7 that pended in Westfield, 4 of those were new builds that sold within that first day or two, where they just plop it on the BLC, and it's not really how long they've been out there. They just did it because they sold. Yeah. So only 3 pended in Westfield, so that's pretty slow. School, I don't know. Sold 124. In Westfield, it's 98% is the average list to sale ratio, and that's been where they've hovering around. And we could have a whole nother conversation about what builders are doing now all of a sudden, which is extremely interesting. So that 98% could be a lot of the builders who are being much more negotiable. Yep. And then the average days on market for 30 days was 29 and 10, so that they have changed quite a bit in the past 7 days. Zionsville 8 hit the market, 0 pended. Only 1 in the 7 days, but 1 total pended that had been on the market before, and that one was a 14 days on market. There's 43 that sold in the past 30 days, 97% list to sale ratio. I find that odd because their inventory is so low.
Yeah,
but anyway, it's 27 average.
I bet that's
11.
one house that took a big hit.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Yeah. And I'm just looking at averages, like I said. But what I want to really talk about is the capital market and capital report for IAR. Statewide, this is this is taking us from September 24 to September of 23 comparative. So closings are up 1% over last year. Pendings are up 6%. So the pendings being up right now in September shows we're going to probably have some closings in October and November. But what those graphs in there, if you guys go to that, the graphs are showing what everybody needs to understand. The cyclical part is the graph goes way down in November, December, and January and comes back up compared to last year and this year. It's always been like that, and I think we're back to that. So it is going to definitely be slower for everybody if we just look at the average way of sales.
I do believe that is public consumption as well. I don't think you have to be an agent to actually access this on their website, by the way.
That'd be interesting and good. Good
sure
things for you
that.
to show. Yeah,
Sure
good. Well, you can forward the email with the links.
I can do that. But I'm just saying, if like somebody who's not an agent is listening, they can pull it up.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. So the other thing was in September, it was the 6th consecutive month that inventory had increased by 20% or more over last year. So our inventory is going up in 6 months in a row. That stat's directly from them. It sounds high to me. It's directly
statewide, though.
It's state. Yeah, this is all state numbers. So higher supply equals lower acceptance. So the average is down by the average sale price has gone down to $260 over the state. So the average we were talking about, the prices are going down. That doesn't mean it's worse because they did have higher equity than from the past few years. And the statewide list to sale ratio is 96%.
Wow.
Yeah, I found that
That's a big
interesting
number.
too.
Yeah.
Again, we're looking at a lot of different counties. The one that was really, really interesting to me, because I know we try to track this and look at this, and it's something you can look up if you want to know. 47% of available homes on the market in September had a price drop, almost half. So does that mean? My question is always, did the listing agent price it wrong? Or is the market changing to the point where we're just trying to figure out where to price it and take advantage of the best price possible without doing price drops? Because price drops can hurt you. But it's interesting. Almost half.
I have thoughts on it. I don't know. I think it is overreaction for the most part of sellers being patient with buyers being patient. That's my personal opinion on it. You know,
Well,
I don't think anybody really intentionally overprices a house. I mean, I'm sure we get the outliers. I mean, I do think that if it comes down, you know, how often is it because, have you ever had a buyer who's like, you know, I'm a buyer on this at 230, but not 237.
Yes, or 235.
Right.
Yes.
No,
yes.
I don't. Like, they're like, we like it at 237. We want to try to get it at 230. But they were in on it at 237, right? And so, to me, like, you know, we write the offer and we write it low. I mean, to bring buyers into the market based off of a price drop, it's got to be a significant price drop. Fair? For like $10,000 to make the difference on whether you buy it or
Oh, yeah,
don't
and that's the
buy it.
conversation you have with your
Yeah.
seller. 2,000 drop is not going to do it.
It isn't.
I think I've said this in the past. My 6 months to a year listings that we used to have is I would literally start the process of $100 a day.
Oh, wow.
Just to keep popping it in front of somebody, and it just got so obnoxious, I think, but it worked.
Yeah.
So not, you know, it's either 10,000 now or just what are you trying to accomplish? And I did that. Somebody had told me about it. I don't know, probably a class I took, and I kind of like that way of doing it, just to try it. And it worked on some listings because sooner or later it was just in front of somebody so many times that it finally caught their eye.
Yeah.
And
So
it
that's
made
what I
them-
think. So what do you think? Do you think the $5,000 price drop made them all of a sudden a buyer on that house, or is it just finally it caught their eyes to where they're like, let's go look at this house? What do you think?
I think it finally just caught their eye.
I agree.
Well, there's a big difference in the bridge pricing as they talk about. You go from 355 to 350.
Yeah, those numbers
Huge
matter.
difference.
There's some thresholds
Yep.
that stop a search.
Stop a search.
So I get that.
Yep.
But within those searches, you know, I just think it takes longer. There's less buyers, you know, and I think part of the price dropping is people acclimating to it, you know. And then here's the other thing: if you don't do a price drop, or you know, because buyers still think if it's sitting, what do they say? What's wrong with it?
What's wrong with it?
Right? And like nothing
Nothing.
is wrong with
Nothing.
it too. There's just not
Nothing.
enough buyers out
Yeah.
there, so it's still sitting. So I think just part of it is like not panicking to the information that we have, that like it's okay, like we're fine. Like I think there's some overreaction here by buyers and sellers. You know, I see sellers wanting to drop price real quick, and I see buyers wanting to like lowball you by 25 G's if you've been on the market 14 days, right?
Well,
like
it
what
is-
are we doing here?
It is
like,
the
and I'll do
first
whatever,
question.
but
There are the mentality out there, I think, in the general public is houses are selling very quickly because their neighbor told them, the buyers know their friends who bought,
yeah.
you know, on multiple offers, but it's all like 6 to 1 year at least ago
Yeah.
that they're talking about, but they're still in the mindset of that's what they know and hear. So the buyers are like, it's been on the market for 2 weeks. What is wrong with it?
Yeah.
And sellers need to understand that that is everybody's question.
Unless you're priced like at a steal, which will obviously generate instant stuff, but like not every seller wants to do that, right? Like most sellers, I would argue, are like, well, like let's see what we can get for the house, right? They're not going to
Yeah.
be like, let's try to like kind of lowball this.
But
to
that was
drive
a strategy.
business up. It
That was
it
exactly
was.
the strategy 2 years ago.
It
Price
was.
it lower a little, you know, a little bit under, maybe 10,000 under, so you get more, and they have to pay the difference of the appraisal. So
But that's when we
gone.
were selling so quick.
That's
right?
gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just really weird. I don't know. You know, the truth lies somewhere in between. And for the record, like we're just looking at stats and kind of manufacturing an opinion in the first place, right? So, I mean, we'd have to go.
There's never
poll
a deal
people.
the same.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think everything's fine. You know, like I kind of like the current market personally.
I like being able to
you
take
know.
my clients maybe back for a second
Yeah,
look.
I like it. I think a lot of people don't, but I think a lot of people. I don't know. I mean.
Sometimes people don't have the mentality to pivot quickly. They're just
Yeah.
stuck with what they've known has been happening. But I can't wait to see. We'll have you back in a year.
Thank you.
And see
See what
if
you
you
say.
hit your 2 a month.
Thank you.
When she
I know
has a
you will.
team,
I hope-
she's gonna have a team.
She's going to
at
have
the-
a
No,
team.
I
She's
don't
going to be
know.
one of the big ones here. I know it.
I hope.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
hope. Yeah. Thank you guys.
And then
Thank
you gotta
very much.
manage people.
Woo!
Yeah, that's not how that's not the sound you're gonna be making. You're gonna be like, yay. No, I love doing it, but I don't know. I think you're gonna do great. If anybody wants to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you?
Angie Daughetry, FC Tucker, 317-450-0284.
And I'm Kyle Morris with Morris Property Group and FC Tucker. My number is 317-649-5122.
And I'm Shelly Walters with the FC Tucker Company and the Shelly Walters Realty Group. My phone number is 317-201-2601. Thanks so much, and you guys have a great week. See you next time.